How are we doing, guys? We're back again. We're back again with the opposition preview with two lovely guests. We've got Mike from Matchday Vlogs. How are things, mate?
All good. Feeling very good. Back to getting a point yesterday. So, yeah, stopping the rot on our side. So, yeah, all good. Thank you.
And Dan, we've just spoken actually on your channel there on the Saints View. How's things with you, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I mean, a bit more optimistic now. We've picked up that point, stopped the rot, and yeah, hopefully we can look forward to a big run coming up, starting with Leeds on Tuesday.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? That's the thing. I mean, you're looking at this game, and obviously we're both in similar positions. And there's a couple of things I want to talk about. Obviously, first of all, what about the new kind of setup, guys? Let us know what you think in the comments.
Yeah.
I was getting a bit fed up, right? I'm basically doing it in the kitchen, and basically having people just switching the kettle on and thinking, "Oh, this is messing."
Your mum used to come in on it. Your mum had walked past and that.
You've not paid your bloody rent. Just like that. It's like, oh, just like not now. Anyway, so guys, make sure you smash the like on this one. We want to get as many of you in as possible. Stop watching that boring City Arsenal game. We all know what's going to happen. Get on this, guys. Smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't done already. So, look, Southampton. I mean, me and you spoke about this, Dan. You were top of the table in November. I've just checked. It was November the 8th. You were top of the Premier League table. When your Twitter admin famously tweeted, "Stop the count." I mean, that feels like an absolute lifetime ago now. But I mean, ever since you beat Liverpool, it's kind of just gone like completely wrong. Is that a fair thing to say?
Yeah, I think it's a fair thing to say. I think Michael agreed with me in the sense that a lot of things have gone wrong kind of at the same time. It went so well at the start and crashed like almost all at the same time. I mean, I think a few opposition fans have forgotten our FA Cup run. That's been a big boost. I think, I can't think what would have happened if we got knocked out against Shrewsbury and then lost these 6 league games. It would have been even more dire. So at least we've got a good chance to get to Wembley alongside that. But yeah, like we said at the beginning, we've got a point now on the board. We've stopped the rot against Chelsea, and what was a good display, in my opinion. And yeah, we've just got to go into this game and think, confident. Go into it with confidence and try and pick up those 3 points. That's got to be the mentality.
Absolutely. I think I love the way Southampton play personally. Just from like a neutral watching you, I just love that. As I said on your channel, you just play on the front foot. Whoever you're playing, you're going to get the odd battering. Like us, you've obviously lost 9-0 a couple of weeks ago, 5-2 to Tottenham. We've had that. I think it's just part and parcel.
We haven't had 9-0.
I was going to say.
We've not played City yet.
Dan, it took them 3 minutes. 3 minutes. I'm just looking at the clock.
That's better than BT Sport, to be fair.
Did you know Southampton have lost 9-0 twice in the last 2 years? That's basically. I'm just guessing that's what BT are saying.
I hadn't heard that ever.
Well, we get Leeds-born Stuart Dallas. Stuart Dallas, who has played for Northern Ireland 50 times now, 50 times plus for Northern Ireland, and apparently he's Leeds-born. But anyway, that's that. Mike, I mean, is there any kind of panic at Southampton? Obviously, you've gone from like top to below us. I mean, is there any kind of panic, or is it just an acceptance that it's just where Southampton are at the minute in terms of they're slowly building, even if the results don't show?
Yeah, I think there's definitely panic. There's always going to be panic amongst any kind of fan base when you see that kind of run of results. But you look at the results that we had after that Liverpool game where we got the 1-0 win, and there are a lot of games in and amongst that realistically we were thinking we're not going to get anything out of this. And then the other games amongst that, we had some horrendous decisions go against us. You've all seen the headlines of Mike Dean recently, and we had, 2 absolute howlers in the Aston Villa game. And most of the Villa fans I spoke to were just surprised to even get a point out of that, let alone 3. And then we had the game against Wolves after the FA Cup, which, I thought, again, it's narrow margins and there's a couple of decisions that didn't go our way. And yesterday where we didn't concede a goal from open play. So, and yes, in and amongst that, there was a heavy defeat away at Old Trafford. But, given the display that we've had in and amongst it, we don't look to me like a side on the decline in terms of the football that we're playing. They're just a few kind of narrow margins that were just, a couple of errors here and there. But yeah. It
sounds like a team we know, doesn't it, Joe? To be fair,
this is what I'm saying. Yeah,
it is crazy. It is crazy.
Yeah, it's so true. Like we can come away from, say, a 4-1 battering on paper against Palace and know that that wasn't the case. But anyone on the outside looking in will just say Leeds got spanked 4-1. They can't defend. They're no good. You know what I mean? We had that for a little while. It's the same against Leicester. I think arguably if Bamford nets that chance, it is fine margins, and that's what it comes down to in the Premier League. We've seen that against Wolves, for example. I know they only beat us 1-0, but you know, a deflected goal. We had numerous chances, but yeah, I get it. But anyone on the outside, they don't see that, do they? Obviously, and we as football fans, when we look at our own team, especially, we're gonna look at the positives. But Southampton are a good side. I was a little bit when I seen they picked up the point, especially when they went in front against Chelsea as well. I was a bit like, oh, they're going to win this, and then they'll come to us and they'll be on the upward trajectory. And it's just sod's law that'll happen, you know. But it's going to be a good game, one I'm looking forward to be fair.
Absolutely. I think, you know, it's high line versus high line, high press versus high press. Really going to be, you know, I really do see goals in this. And normally when I say that, it's the kiss of death for the game itself. It's like a 1-0 awful game. I think the last time I spoke about that was Brighton at home. It was Brighton, again, quite a team that plays on the front foot. That was a terrible game of football. So who knows? Who knows? But I'm expecting this to be good, to be fair. I'm expecting this to be good. But let's talk about your manager a bit. I think Joe's very keen to talk about Mr. Hasenhüttl. I mean, I like him personally. I do like him, but I mean, I've got to say, I'm definitely in Joe's favour. I thought, I mean, Joe, talk about Hasenhüttl against Liverpool. Yeah. I mean, we spoke about this before, haven't we?
Yeah, I was on 90minute.com and a few other bits that I'd done, and it kind of split the room. Like, a lot of people were like, we get it, you know, he was beat 9-0, you know, that was brought up again, and then he comes up against the Liverpool side who haven't been beat, all this stuff, and Klopp's his mentor, and it meant so much to him, and he beat him 1-0, and he wept. Now, for me, I was just like, it seems a little bit tin pot. Like, I don't know how I would react if my manager was crying after just picking up 3 points. Like, I can understand it if it was an FA Cup final and he beat Liverpool, you know, and he wins a cup, or he's confirmed Champions League football for Saints or European, but just in a one-off game. I mean, you will know the backstory more and will give us some more context, and that's why I brought it up, because from an outsider's perspective, I was like, why is he crying? He's got 3 points. Like, what's going on? And then since then, you've been on a massive downward spiral. So I was like, so
he was right to cry.
Yeah, exactly. He probably knew it was coming. But no, it was just genuine. I really rate the manager. Don't get me wrong. I think he'll end up at a top club. That's not to say Southampton, but you get what I'm saying. He's got a higher ceiling, possibly. And sometimes we have to accept that. I think we would accept that with Bielsa if he weren't so staunch with his methods and how he says, "Nah, I'm here for the project." If he was a different type of manager, then of course he would be going to, you know, the top 6 sides and that. I accept that, but he's just a totally different personality. But yeah, so it's not that I'm not saying he's not a good manager. I just didn't understand the crying situation, and I wanted to speak to you guys really and get your opinion on it.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, in terms of when he broke down in tears after that Liverpool game, I think we were all kind of sort of torn up in emotions ourselves because, of course, we were resolute, we hold out for the victory. But, you know, the background story behind that was the fact that he'd said to Klopp earlier on in the season, like, this is a season where I'm going to get a point off you. And it was just the fact that his own stoic mindset of, you know, let's not forget, Hasenhüttl brought a side up from lower leagues in the Bundesliga to back, you know, into the first division in Germany. So he's not really, you know, RB, you know, apart from the RB Leipzig thing he'd done, he's not really been at sort of the higher end of management in the German league for a large period of time. So he's kind of looked to Klopp as that kind of end goal. And, you know, when you have that as your mindset and that is your goal and you achieve it, who knows what you're going to do? I don't think anyone can sort of, you know, tell what their emotions are going to be in that kind of situation. So yeah, it was a little bit strange for anyone that sort of didn't know the background story behind his own personal goals, and that's what he was trying to do. But, you know, these are pretty crazy times, and, you know, being the fact that he's been away from his family as well, and all these kind of things where perhaps he's, you know, got his own kind of goals in mind and sort of, you know, so invested in the job, it kind of sort of, you know, you sort of get it, and you know, no one can really tell what their emotions are going to be in those kind of situations. But you know, going back to what else you said about Bielsa at your club, I see a lot of similarities, and it's crazy to think that, you know, you were saying how you can see Hasenhüttl will go into a larger club, a bigger top 6 club, should we say, maybe, and yet you'd referring to a manager that's lost 9-0 twice. You know, and these kind of, do you know what I mean? It's like,
no.
From a Southampton fan's perspective, we see Hasenhüttl so invested in the project at Southampton. It's kind of like he goes on a great run of results, and everyone's thinking, "Oh, Manchester United would be looking at him," and then you know, but you know, we see Ralph Hasenhüttl here for the long term because he's so invested in the, you know, the lower, the under 18s and all the under 21s and all that kind of stuff, that he's you know, putting his managerial methods through those kind of things. So yeah, I see a lot of similarities, but hopefully that gives you a bit of a background story of the emotional full time. I don't think, if you know, unless Dan's got anything else to add on that. Any other?
I mean, the thing is, it wouldn't be a high profile story if he hadn't done that at full time and the cameras were on him. If he'd done that in the change room, no one would have known, and he would have been left to do it, you know. But obviously it was because at the full-time whistle and all the cameras were on him that he broke down in front of everyone, and that's why we're kind of so interested in it. I don't know. I think for me, it shows that it's a manager who just gives a damn. He just cares, you know. I think we've definitely had managers who couldn't give a toss, honestly. Like they know that if they're going to get sacked, they're going to get their payoff. You know, I think a certain Argentine might be at the top of my mind, Mike. But yeah, it is. For me, my initial reaction was just, that bloke cares. You know, that's the man I want leading my football club. And like Mike said, he is here for the long term, in my opinion. I think when it comes to players, it's different. I think with players, you know, we'll obviously talk about Danny Ings, I'm sure, in a bit, but I think when it comes to a new contract or the possibility of moving away, that's a more likely move. For me, I think Ralph's here to stay. You know, there was a lot of news about the playbook. I don't know if you read anything about that, but in lockdown, he created this playbook, which is basically his philosophy, that he wanted every single age group, you know, down to, I think, like under 8s, like literally, you know, that extreme. He wants to implement his philosophy on every age group. You know, he's here for the long term. That's why he signed a 4-year contract. You know, I think if Saints aren't going to get to, I hate comparing us with Europe, but I do feel like if he can't get us to Europe in the next 2 years, he might move on, and especially if he's not going to get backed. But for me, I still think he'll be here for the rest of the season, definitely, and maybe another one at least.
I'm still not having it, but but I get it. No, I do get it, because obviously we're pretty staunch on Bielsa and won't have a bad word said about him. So when if it was Bielsa that were crying, I'd gone, yeah, so what?
Yeah, I know. It's one of those. It is one of those.
It is, of course it is. Yeah, nah, that's fair enough then. Good ask.
There we go. Sorry, the internet went then for a second. I'm back. I wasn't going out. But he's got an interesting nickname, to be fair. Just totally kind of off subject, but Hasenhüttl's nickname is Klopp of the Alps. I mean, for me, when I see Southampton now, I do see a very similar style in terms of like Jurgen Klopp, in terms of the high press, high energy, you know, and just it's very intense when you kind of watch Southampton play, and you always know you're going to get a game out of it. And sometimes, to be fair, I think I watched you play Man United, and you went 2-0 up and then lost 3-2, but you were battering them at 2-0 and thought, you're going to win this 3 or 4. And then obviously, is it heavily reliant on fitness then? Is that just a very simplistic way of
I'd say
talking about it, Mike?
Oh, is he done? No,
yeah,
fitness. Yeah. I think it's exactly all down to fitness, and I think that might be why we did so well at the start of the season, and where injuries have come after sort of 20 odd games, and that's where we've really, really struggled. I think he's got to sort of run them out, if that makes sense, and it's only just over halfway, which is arguably a concern. You could argue, that's a criticism of Ralph's style. That's a criticism of the players that he's got available to him. At the end of the day, he's worked them hard, and the difference, I think, in fitness, in mentality, well, maybe not mentality, but definitely ability and fitness, has just come on leaps and bounds since he's come in.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing I add to that is I actually spoke to my my previous manager at work. Actually, he's a German guy, and he sort of said how, because I knew nothing about Ralph Hasenhüttl before he came to the Premier League and he joined Southampton. So I was kind of like, who is this guy? You've obviously watched him in Bundesliga. And he said he's a fantastic manager, but he runs the players ragged. Like when it gets to like 70, 80 minutes, they are absolutely exhausted. So in terms of, you see a lot of potential injuries and all that kind of stuff. And it was kind of interesting when they were putting to the vote the substitution rule about whether or not to continue with the 5 subs over the 3. And Ralph actually voted for 5. And we're all kind of a bit bemused because they're like, we don't have 5 substitutes, Ralph. Why are you voting for this? It's like there's no one left on the bench. You're putting on Fraser Forster on with Alex McCarthy. It's like, it's not going to work. So we're a bit confused by that. But it's in terms of like, should we have a fully fit squad? Hopefully, that day will come once again, Dan. It would make sense because he wants to rotate the players on the pitch so they can keep up that high press, that high intensity football. So yeah, I mean, obviously it's an attractive game to watch. It's a risky game to watch, and I think there's a lot of similarities with you boys as well in terms of the risky football that you play. But it's entertaining at the end of the day, isn't it? So all good.
We know it's going to be a roller coaster, don't you? You know it's going to be a roller coaster, like it is with Bielsa. You're going to have the bad days, especially in this level. The bad days, as we've already mentioned, but you can have a lot of good days as well. So it's very interesting, to be fair.
Oscar, what do you put that down? Because hearing the lads talk, it is very, very similar. But the one thing I'd say is that with our players, they go to the bitter end. There's no drop off for me at 70. If anything, we grow and get better in games. That's what I've found anyway. So I wonder what that's down to, because I'd without actually seeing them both, I'd imagine that Bielsa's working them hard. Well, the same, if not harder, maybe. But our fitness tells, so it's a little bit interesting that. So there must be something in there that Hasenhüttl's doing that's actually maybe a little bit detrimental. I don't know, but then again, from the outsider's perspective, there is such thing as Bielsa burnout. I mean, as a Leeds fan, I don't agree with it because I don't see it, but it's easily labelled. So it's quite interesting just to hear Mike talk about that, because although we do have injuries more, especially in that first season under Bielsa in the Championship, it was every week we had someone. I mean, we've still got a load out now, to be fair. Whether or not you can put that down to his methods, I'm not so sure. But yeah, because we are up there, you would say, wouldn't you, Oscar, with one of the fittest teams in the league, I'd imagine.
The fittest for me. I genuinely will go that far. I would say we are the fittest team in the league. So I can see a late goal in the game, and obviously it's in the game, and it's 1-1, 20 minutes to go. That might suit us a little bit, to be fair.
I think you need to get back in kitchen, mate. This Wi-Fi is killing me. It's all right. I'm only joking.
Does it actually keep cutting out?
It's all right. We can hear you though. You just freeze.
It's all good, man.
We make up the end of the question you're asking. It's great. Yeah. We just finish it off.
I'm talking, but my face is just staying still.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I think in terms of the fitness from our side, I mean, I'm not sure if you would agree with this, Dan, but I haven't seen that sort of fatigue in the last few games. Actually, I mean, I think when we conceded 3 goals against Man United in the second half, I mean, that was just a Cavani masterclass, and our gas tank just came off. And also when we played Wolves away in the league, it was noticeable at like the 60th, 70th minute that we were gassed out and we were sort of playing long ball football and not playing the football that we should be. But I think this season's going to be really weird with all the congested fixtures. You're going to get players who are naturally fatigued, concerned about picking up injuries. It's got to be at the back of their minds when they're playing football on such a regular basis that you're going to get these weird moments. But I have seen an improvement in the fitness in the recent games. Especially with yesterday's performance against Chelsea. So that's one improvement that I have seen.
The only thing I'll add, if I can just butt in and add to that, I think if you look at particularly the Aston Villa game, we've mentioned that already. We were pushing for that equaliser when really we should have had a winner anyway. But we were pushing for that equaliser, and the goal we did score that got ruled off was in added time. We were so much fitter than Villa. It was unbelievable. I mean, we were just getting the ball every single time, running at them, and like you say, how they went on to pick up a point, let alone 3, is still beyond me. But I think, Mike's hit the nail on the head there. We have seen in the last couple of games an improvement. I think at the beginning of the season, we showed fitness or decent levels of fitness, and it kind of stagnated over Christmas. But it looks like we're starting to get back into things.
No, that's interesting. I mean, in terms of danger man for Southampton, one person I've got to pick out is James Ward-Prowse, solely for the reason, I've mentioned this to Dan as well, set pieces. He is one of the best players for me in the world. So unbelievable in those kind of situations for me. I mean, if we're giving away any stupid free kicks and we can see from one, then honestly, it's just ridiculous. We are
just keep Foster on the bench, mate, and we won't give any silly free
Foster. I'm sure Foster can come on later on and give away a ridiculous free kick somewhere. But I mean, any other players who you'd say are potential real threats for us going into this game?
I'll go first if that's all right. Danny Ings, of course, he's the household name when it comes to goals. I'd like to give Takumi Minamino a good shout though, because I swear to God, like when he was linked with us last minutes of the transfer window, I was like, why are we getting another winger in? I think this was before Walcott had just got injured. So we had Gineppo, Redmond, Walcott, Armstrong, of course. How can I miss him? Yeah. And we were just a bit like, well, why would we bring in another winger? But obviously Walcott's gotten injured, maybe out for the whole season. We don't really know the extent of his injury. And he's come in and, matched the goal tally of Redmond and Gineppo combined in 3 games. He's been fantastic. And, it was really interesting. I think there was a report in The Athletic about how Minamino's been on our shortlist for ages, even when he was at Salzburg. And when the opportunity came to bring him in, even for 6 months, we took it, even though we needed a fullback. We opted for another winger. And, yeah, he's added a lot of quality. So I'd look out for him. And Stuart Armstrong, how can I forget him? He's been my player, one of the players of the season. He looked a little bit leggy over Christmas, but recently he's come back and been sublime, in my opinion, against Wolves in the Cup. What a
goal he scored in that game as well.
His performance in that game was so top. And, he wasn't playing yesterday. We thought that might be a concern, but he's back. Thankfully, it was a little knock. So he's back for the game on Tuesday. And he's a cracking player, one of the most underrated players in the Premier League, in my opinion. 7 million we got him for, absolute steal.
Nice. Which side does he play on, Dan?
Right, the right-hand side.
Just thinking from our fullback's point of view.
Oh, good. He'll be against Alioski then. That's good. That's nice and fun because it's likely, to be fair. In fact, I'll go to Mike. Would be anyone you'd add to that list potentially?
Only name I'd chuck in there. I mean, he gave a fantastic performance yesterday. Is Musa Gineppo, and he was playing in a position which isn't too familiar to him. He's playing like a right wing back position because with the likes of Kyle Walker-Peters out injured, that was our panic button effectively going into the Chelsea game. The fact that we were just terrified that Ralph might put Jack Stevens in right back like he did against Newcastle away, and we just I said on our channel, I was like, if he does that, we can see 3 goals in the first half easy. We literally be ripped apart. A couple of crosses go in, 2-3 easy goals in the first half. But thankfully he didn't. He mixed it up, put 3 centre backs in, and then worked with the wing backs. And Musa Gineppo, he's a small frame of a guy, and he's really, picks up injuries stupidly easily. So we're thinking like he's going to give away a yellow card straight away, and he's going to get injured, and we're going to have to sub him, and have another problem on our hands. But put a fantastic performance in, and sort of created a lot of chances for us, and just solidified up that area. It's a bit ropey in the first few minutes of the game. Left a lot of space for Alonso, but yeah, he's another dangerous player going forward as well. When you give him a chance to do so. So I'd chuck his name into the hat. And I think also on Stuart Armstrong, he was out injured yesterday, and it kind of puts a bit of a question mark as into, well, if Ralph uses the same system he does yesterday, where does Armstrong fit into the squad, and I can sort of see Armstrong starting on the bench on Tuesday night, and being a sort of a second option should things not be going to plan, really. Considering the performance that was put on, or whether Ralph thinks he can take a few more risks on Tuesday night, it'll be an interesting one to see.
There we go. I'm gonna have to move. Guys. Like, can you hold the fort for like 30 seconds, Wayne? Then
I can, yeah, mate. I can.
I'll button with another player that hasn't been mentioned, though. I think we talk about set pieces and maybe Leeds' inability to defend them at times. Yannick Vestergaard's going to be huge for us.
Yeah.
I think 6'7", knock it at the back post. Yeah, he scored 3 goals. I think it's 3 goals he scored this season. Almost scored the winner yesterday, hitting the bar. And if Mohamed Salisu plays again after a great full Premier League debut and a great debut at Wolves in the Cup, I think he's 6'4". So that's 2 physical centre-backs that could be massive threats for us on set pieces, especially with Ward-Prowse's delivery. So I think that's where the game might be won for us, in fairness.
Mm-hmm. To be fair, I remember... Mike's... Oh, there we go. Mike's back.
Right.
We're having a nightmare, aren't we?
Yeah, he's great.
I remember Vestergaard when he was getting his goals, and I remember actually putting... Because at the time, we couldn't defend a set-piece for Toffee. Naturally, we're still leading for most set-piece goals conceded, but we haven't actually conceded as many as... Like, again, we were talking about it earlier, from outsider's perspective, we're woeful. And don't get me wrong, we're still poor, but we've been getting better, and it was since the Burnley game where our goalkeeper Melier actually decided to come for them, because what he was doing before that is just staying rooted to his line. We can't defend as in heading, so they were just getting free runs, bang, and he was rooted to his line, and they were just always going in. So now he's committed to coming out and trying to meet them, which has helped massively. But I do remember Vestergaard going on that little scoring run and saying, I can imagine a hat-trick of headers against us at the time. We have got better, but it is something that does worry me, especially like was mentioned by Oscar, when you've got Ward-Prowse on deliveries. If he's not going to have a go, he's going to put one in a decent area to be attacked, So I was going to ask you about, because the kid Salisu, is it?
Salisu,
yeah. It was his first Premier League appearance. You bought him in the summer. How's he adjusted to it? Has there been a reason? Has he picked up a knock or anything, or is it just he's not been able to get in?
It's been a muscular injury, hasn't it, Dan? Or is it like a...
Yeah, I think he's had 2. I think he didn't really play during the La Liga restart. I think he might have had a bit of an injury, and also might have been the fact that there was a move on the line and they didn't really want to play him at the time. But I think he came injured and then was ready to play against Shrewsbury in the Cup, had another injury. And so, yeah, it's been a bit of a frustration. But he's had 2 starts, 1 off the bench, and yeah, he's lived up to my expectations, because he was, we were all raving about this signing, and, people were saying, oh, this is like for £11 million, it's an absolute steal. He's one of the highest rated young defenders in Europe. And I mean, two and a half games of football, I think he's done really well. I don't know what Mike thinks, but for me anyway.
Yeah, 100%. He's a decent centre-back. He can get the ball. He was winning lots of second balls, and he's quick. It's not often you see a guy who's like 6'3" or something like that, and the guy can move. And in terms of his composure on the ball, I mean, he kind of has a bit of a, I don't want to say it too soon, but a bit of a Virgil van Dijk sort of strut to him. But when you see a player like that adapt to the Premier League so quickly, okay, we've seen him for what, maybe 120 minutes or so, but it's really encouraging to see him adapt so quickly. I guess the only question mark will be, how does he feature with the likes of Vestergaard and Bednarek, and where does he rank amongst those? And again, it will sort of tie into what formation we decide to do against you guys on Tuesday night, and whether or not he'll feature. But he's certainly looking very, very decent. And a lot of the sports pundits, I know, Carlo over at The Athletic was talking about him and saying, this is a decent player for the future. So there was a lot of big talk, which was infuriating the fan base at Southampton, because we were just like, we haven't seen him. Literally, we're in February 2021. We signed this player in August. It's like, especially how many goals we concede. It's like, we want this guy to start. So it's been fantastic seeing him getting into the mix.
I know where he ranks. I know where he ranks. I'd be putting him next to Vestergaard already and drop Bednarek in the back 4, but that's for another day.
Yeah, I think I'd heard on Match of the Day. I think he'd only got in. Was it due to an injury to Kyle Walker-Peters and Bednarak having to go there on the right hand side? Was it or
against Wolves? Yeah, against Wolves
Yeah,
when
yeah.
Walker-Peters got injured. Yeah, so technically he's not conceded from open play yet. I'm just so
just dropping the stats?
Yeah,
Just getting him in. I mean,
I'm going to back him.
Yeah, do it, man. We have our own that, you know, Mike made the comparison with VVD. We've got our own that we like to call, well, I like to call Virgil van Strauch. Yeah, just me. I'll put it out there. But Pascal Strauch was at the Ajax Academy. His ceiling looks massive for me. But again, some seen him the odd time might not agree. But I think a lot of Leeds fans are in agreement that we expect him to go, you know, to the top, really, to be fair. He's been playing in CDM for a while KP's been out and not been great there. But yeah, we've got our own. I like to call him Virgil van Strauch. So yeah. But Oscar, they were just chatting there while you were off air, the fact that Vestergaard, you know, the new centre-back they've just who's just started as well. They're both like over 6 foot odd. Obviously, James Ward-Prowse on deliveries as well. And
where you going with this, Wayman? Where you going with this?
I'm just saying, like, they're right to bring it up about the set pieces, you know, and that's what we were just discussing, because I'd actually wrote Vestergaard as you were talking about players and wondered why you hadn't brought them up. Obviously, Dan mentioned it. Can I just ask you as well, guys, about Shea Adams? Because obviously we were linked with him for a very long time, and Bamford wasn't really doing it at the time, and I was so sold on him and wanted, you know, to bring him in. And what's he been like for you at Southampton? Are you glad that, you know, you kept hold, or should you have? I think there was some big figures being bandied about at the time. What have you made to share?
From my perspective, I think selling him after 6 months would have been just a shambles, really, from our front. And I think he's kind of, I think it's fair to say he's backed up that it would have been a shambles. 4 goals during the restart. You know, he hadn't scored all season, then 4 in a handful of games after lockdown. So he was in a great run of form and then came into the season. And his start was very good. I think he scored 4. I think he's got 4 or 5 this season, but he's on a bit of a drought. He's on a very long drought. I think it's over 2 months. And because his name's Timo Werner, it won't get discussed in the media. But it's been a shame, because he was linking up with Danny really nicely. And even when Ings got injured and Walcott started playing up front, he was linking up really nicely. I remember, I think it was Wolves away. He didn't score, but he set up Walcott's goal and was just immense that night. You know, his hold-up play, winning the ball, desire to win the ball. You know, he's good in a pressing system, but Ralph's, for some reason, he's kind of dropped out of Ralph's fancy a little bit, and Ralph's been opting to play Redmond up front.
Yeah, it's been a bit of an odd one, really. I mean, whether or not, you know, he's just fallen out of favour, or whether the systems that Ralph's playing up front, he's thinking, you know, he can only sort of have one out-and-out striker. Because I see Danny Ings and Shea Adams as kind of similar like players. I mean, that they both have a similar work ethic. They're both very good with the ball underneath their feet, and they can get a strike out of nowhere. But totally agree with Dan in the sense that it would be madness to let him go on loan after 6 months somewhere. You know, it would just literally knock his confidence, and you may as well have just sold him if you're going to do that. But you know, he's like with any strikers. I mean, he's gone off the boil a little bit, but you'd arguably say that about Danny Ings. I mean, he's had a couple more goals than Shea has, but totally agree with Dan. I mean, Timo Werner, I mean, his first Premier League goal since the 7th of November, and you know, somehow it's world-class striker. I mean, that's the madness of this, really, isn't it? He doesn't really get talked about, but you don't see him being benched. But there we go. Shots fired, like it.
If you do bench him, you get sacked not long after, anyway.
I'm just thinking Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang could score 3 goals all season and doubled his tally in 48 minutes against us. So, yeah, that doesn't assure me massively, to be fair, guys. You're telling me Adams hasn't scored for 2 months. To be fair, I'd probably rather face someone who's on a red hot streak of form, to be fair, because that's yeah, we do have this tendency, to be fair. I mean, Traore, well, I know Traore didn't score for Wolves, but I won't go on that way and then talk about his stats.
I was giving it the big one at the start of the game, saying, look, I'm not concerned. Let him shoot from wherever he wants. He doesn't get involved in goal contributions. He hasn't scored for so many games, yada, yada, yada. then he pulled one out of the bag, didn't he? Although, to be fair, he did miss. Like, a lot of the commentators are saying he should be, awarded with that goal, but if it doesn't hit off the back of Melier, he's hit the post or crossbar, so therefore he shouldn't be awarded it because he missed.
I've not heard this. They said he should be awarded with the goal. He missed.
Yeah, like same for all his hard, for his endeavour to cut inside and take the effort, he should have been awarded with a goal.
That's kind of not how it works.
Yeah, no, because he missed. Do you know what I mean?
Redmond should have 20 goals this season if it's about just nice runs and taking a shot.
Especially hitting the post. In that case, we won yesterday. We won, didn't we? That's a good header.
In that case, we're second.
Yeah. Is this the same fan that asked for a second place trophy? Was it?
Do you know? Just on Danny Ings as well, boys. Are you fully expecting him to be away when his contract's gone and done, or?
From my point of view, I think he won't sign a contract. So if I was the board, I'm thinking we've got to be getting a fee. Based on how he's played this season, forget last season and 22 goals or whatever it was, 25 in all competitions. He's not been the same striker, and he's a striker that if we're offered 30-40 million pounds in the summer when he's got a year left, I'd be taking it. I think we could replace him if we are to spend the money. That's the problem with the Saints hierarchy at the moment. It's about not necessarily spending that money. But I think 30 or 40 million pounds with a year left on his contract is going to be more valuable, assuming we get a replacement with that, than what he'd give us for the remaining year. And then he'd go off on a free and sign for City or Spurs or someone like that.
I agree.
Do you agree, Mike, his ceiling's that high that he could sign for a City or a Spurs? Obviously, he had that stint at Liverpool, didn't he?
He could. But I think the difficult thing for Danny is the fact that, wherever he goes, is he going to get first team football? And, you can... The difficulty we have at Southampton is the fact that our wage bill is so, what we pay in wages is so much less than any other club. And it's just such a difficulty to think like, Theo Walcott has come to our club on loan with a subsidised wage packet that effectively means that our 50% contribution is the same fee that Danny gets a week. And it's just, when you think of it on that perspective, it's absolute nuts. And Danny, I got every sympathy for him because he's playing the football of his life. He's enjoying it. He's the king of the scummers as far as we're concerned. But at the end of the day, he's working 10 times harder than Harry Kane, who's on like twice as much a week, and all these other players who literally sat on the bench earning 3 times as much. And it's the broken side of football, in my opinion. So I've got every sympathy for the fact that he's thinking I've probably got 3 to 4 years left in my prime. And then I might get a football pundit's job, and you've got to think of it on that perspective. And he's done great for our club, but I can see exactly how Dan mapped that out in the sense that, if we got a year left on the contract and someone comes in for 30-40 million, I can see it happening. But what will really kill me if he goes somewhere, no disrespect to like West Ham or something like that, but if he goes somewhere like that, exactly. But what I wouldn't want is for him to go somewhere like a Man City and then sit on a bench behind 3 or 4 other players. It doesn't make sense for him. But like I said, it's the broken side of football. And, it'd be great that if he could do a Matt Latiz and play his whole, the rest of his career at Southampton. But it's just not the way football is anymore. But it's a sad reality. And, it's one that us Saints fans are well used to. So what will be...
If I can butt in, what I will say is we can create the perfect scenario for him to end his career at the club. Club he supported as a boy, he came in, he's adored by the fan base, and it's not just his brace at a certain club down the road. It's, the 25 goals last season that single-handedly kept us up, really. He can finish his career and be a Saints legend. So reports are suggesting that we might be able to make him our highest ever played player. Whether I believe that or not, I'm not really sure. But he has to sign the contract sooner or later because we will get to the summer. The season will be done before we know it. And then he'll have 1 year left. We've got to make a decision. And he's got to make a decision sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and I hear what you're saying as well. And it's sometimes you have to accept that fact, don't you? Because like you said, Mike, if he's looking around that dressing room and he's got Walcott coming in and he's on 50% of what he's actually earning overall, and he's thinking about what what you're contributing to the side. You must be like, come on, I'm getting to an age, I've got a family or whatever. I don't know. I'm assuming he would have family and kids, and it's like sometimes you do have to look after number one and make that last move, get that money in, because like you say, once your football career is over, then what? There's not always a guarantee you can be doing stuff after that. So yeah, I mean, there might be an opening at Spurs because I think Harry Kane will be on his way. So you never know. Danny Ings might rock up there. I don't know. I think Harry Kane needs to move now, to be honest. But that's Spurs. That's Spurs anyway. But Oscar?
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing for me is if Southampton do go 2 up top, we're probably going to change to a back 3. So, I mean, is it something you've done all season? Is that fair to say? There's no reason to think that you won't do anything other than have 2 strikers up at the top end of the pitch?
I think it kind of mixes up at the front for us. I mean, we've been showing 2 up front with, the last 2 games we've had Redmond and Ings up front, but I didn't really see Redmond ever playing side by side with Danny Ings. It was kind of more like a rotation with Minamino, Redmond and Ings, and sort of, working in and around that area, which is possibly another reason why Shea Adams is finding himself on the bench because, yesterday Shea came on for Danny. So whether or not Hassan Hüttl sees it as a similar role, and we're actually just playing 1 up front with 2 further back. So I'm not quite sure whether, because you see the formations put out on the Sky Sports screens and stuff like that. And we were playing 4-4-2, apparently, according to BT Sports yesterday. It's like, I really hope not, looking at who we got lining up in those positions. But, so I think we'll see something, a little bit of a mix there. So not a classic 4-4-2 as you would see. Okay,
that's because it's good. It will change our system, won't it, Joe? If we do go 2 up top. So I'm just thinking if it was potential back 3 of Ayling, maybe Llorente might come in. Obviously I mentioned Llorente is obviously back on the bench. But I mean, there's been nothing about in terms of KP Rodrigo's availability.
No, I think they might miss this one just with it being a quick turnaround, and maybe they'll look ahead to Villa on Saturday. Don't get me wrong, if KP's anywhere close to fitness, I'd like him back in the side because we're a totally different beast when he's in there, as we know. We've only won 1 when he's not been in the side. So we need him back ASAP. But yeah, it'd be interesting, like you say, if they go with 2 up top in some sort of capacity, then we will probably drop to a back 3. I just want Ayling back at right back, mate. I think that's the frustrating thing for me because he's so good going forward. He can still do a job at centre back, and we've spoken about it many times that for me he's arguably our best all-round defender because he can play centre back, right back. He gets involved in goal contributions. He's so good, but whenever he's at centre back, we miss that right hand side and the combination between Rafinha and Ayling, and it can be so potent. What are you guys like in from the left fullback area? I always ask this question now because Rafinha has just been so good lately, and he causes problems every time he plays. I mean, Wolves, they had 3 different fullbacks on Friday night. Johnny Otto started, and then they switched it, and then they switched it again. Whether or not that was down to Knox, but ultimately, by the end of 90 minutes, they'd had 3 different left backs, and I'm like, this guy's causing people problems. You know what I mean? They're having to change. So, what are you like in that area, lads?
Ryan Bertrand every day of the week is always Ryan if he's available. And he's had a good season. I honestly don't understand some of the slander he gets because at times, like, his body language isn't great. Some people might say that he's lazy, doesn't care enough. He definitely cares, and I think he's had one of his better seasons in a Saints shirt this year.
Yeah, the last few games have been very decent for Bertrand. I think he looks a bit stocky, when he started the season. I think it's sort of down to perhaps fitness. But it's funny how you say about our fullbacks. We've only got 2, and if they're injured, they don't exist. So it's it's Ryan Bertrand in the left back position, or Kyle Walker-Peters in the right back who's out injured. But the way you're talking about your right back is a similar way that we would talk about Kyle Walker-Peters. I mean, he's fantastic going forward and creates great chances. When we've got a side where we've got Kyle Walker-Peters and Vestergaard in there, you want to be worried because we are able to push forward and create some very exciting football. So, you know, you don't have Kyle Walker-Peters to contend with, but like I said, I can see a formation being the same as it was yesterday. But yeah, left back Bertrand gets a lot of stick, but an absolute Saints legend.
Strange, he never got like no disrespect to Southampton, but there was a time when Bertrand, there's a lot of rumours about obviously he's getting in the England squad. He was probably England's number one left back at the time, you know, sort of 3 or 4 years ago. Just find it strange he never got the move. Is it just a case of, I don't know, was he just very loyal?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think it's Man City who were interested, and it's really similar to Ings in fairness, because he's been at this top club. You know, he was at Chelsea. And it just didn't work for him. He had all these loan spells. Okay, with Ings, it was a case of injuries why he wasn't getting in the team, but he was getting all these loan spells, and he wanted a permanent move. And I think Southampton gave him all the resources to go on and be a recognised Premier League fullback. You know, and England as well. You say he was probably our first choice left back for a year. So I think he was a bit loyal. Yeah, I'd say that. And I also think he would have felt like, well, if you look at Man City, they're chopping and changing fullbacks, you know, on a regular basis. How much game time am I going to get? I've got a guaranteed spot here. So I think it's down to loyalty.
Yeah. And that's what you want, you know, when you're trying to get in the England squad, you want first team football, don't you? You want to make sure you're starting. It's why the Maitland-Niles deal fell through to, you know, where he ended up going to West Brom, because he wanted to guarantee that he was going to be playing first team football. And, you know, if he came to Southampton, if Kyle Walker-Peters was fit, he wouldn't be playing. And arguably, if Kyle Walker-Peters wasn't fit, then maybe Diallo would be in that position. So it's, you know, it all depends on whether or not you get first team football. So it's a bit of a mystery why, you know, Bertrand hasn't perhaps featured in England. You have to speak to, you know, Southgate on that one. But yeah, odd one.
I mean, if you're not getting in the West Brom team, if you are Maitland-Niles, then you might as well just retire. I mean, if you're not getting in there ahead of Lee Peltier or in a Sam Allardyce team at this stage, just go to something else. Go to another sport, I think, is probably the solution to that one. But yeah, obviously, you know, we've spoken about Rafinha. Is there any other players, Michael, Dan, who you're looking at as particularly fearing in going into this game? Because obviously we've spoken about Danny Ings, but I see Bamford and Ings as being the two people who are battling out for that last kind of spot for the strikers. You know, obviously you've got Tammy Abraham, Ollie Watkins, who obviously, you know, Abraham's probably in because he plays for Chelsea, and they're not going to not put someone in from Chelsea because that's just the way it works for England. So it's probably going to be Ings and Bamford. They're probably, you know, if Southgate's watching this game, it'll be interesting if he's there possibly on Tuesday night. He was there against Wolves, so there's a possibility he's looking at Patrick Bamford. I mean, what, from an outside looking in, any other players you'd be fearful of?
Bamford for me. I mean, in terms of what he's able to create, I mean, it looks to me like he had a bit of a dodgy offside call on against the Wolves game. Open those sore wounds up again for you. Sorry about that, boys. You know, we all know what that's like for offside decisions, don't we, Dan? But yeah, no, Bamford, in a sense that he's able to create something out of nothing. And I think that's what we love about Danny Ings. You know, he creates something out of nothing, and it makes us go crazy on our watch-alongs because we're literally watching it calm as you like, and then suddenly we just explode because it's like, how has that happened? Like, why would you ever take a shot from there, or how have you got through and created that chance? And we, you know, I would certainly look at Bamford as being a very similar player because he's able to do something like that.
Yeah, I like Click. I think Click's a good player. I liked him in the Championship. I think he's settled relatively well in the Premier League from an outsider's view. For me, it was Rafinha, though, going into this one, having seen some... I mean, was it Palace where he just sent him for a chippy and beyond? Like, that's...
Gary Cahill, basically.
That was ridiculous. I mean, it was Cahill. Okay, fair enough. But
yeah,
I for me, Rafinha is probably the danger man. I've enjoyed watching him in the Premier League this season.
Yeah, he's been... I mean, we only paid 17 million for him. How we got him for that is just absolutely insane. Even against Wolves, I think we had four for Cooper, 4 chances for Cooper. He could have had a hat-trick, basically. But each delivery was from Rafinha, and it was all pinpoint. So even, you know, he didn't have the best joy in terms of taking, you know, Johnny Otto on, but when he gets the opportunity, he's always putting a decent ball into the box. He created a chance for Costa right at the end of the game. He's exceptional. Like, it's mad because this is when I have to pinch myself moments, you know, because I'm like, you know, we've got Rafinha, we've got this player playing at our football club, obviously been out of the Premier League for 16 years. And hearing like Mike talk about Bamford in the same sort of vein as Danny Ings, which last season I'd have never ever thought that comparison would ever be made. No, honestly, and like you'd be very hard to find a Leeds fan. I mean, some will say they did, but I don't think any of us expected us to have the impact that
I don't think Patrick Bamford would have expected. In his heart of hearts, I don't think Patrick Bamford, his family, anyone around Patrick Bamford would have expected. And it's just amazing. That's the great thing.
Yeah,
it's almost like, I mean, with Bamford, and it's not quite on the same level, but you know, when Vardy came into this league, and I remember when Vardy came into this league, and we played against him in the Championship when he was at Leicester, and he was a good player, don't get me wrong, but again, didn't really see that kind of level from him in the Championship. And then he goes into the Premier League, and suddenly it just suits him really. But obviously he's not at that level, but you know what I mean, in terms of just going from 1 to 100 in kind of one season. That's probably the last time I can kind of remember it happening to that extent with Bamford. But it's
nice to hear Dan and talk about Click. Obviously, me and Oscar are massive fans of Click. He had a great start to life in the Premier League. His performances have dropped a little bit, but listen, he played like nearly 99, I think like 98 games consecutively under Bielsa. Like, so this guy's at peak. I think the only time he missed the Derby game because we'd been promoted and they'd been on the lash the night before. Otherwise, he'd have probably, amassed 100. But his performances have waned a little bit. And we've had some fans say that he's not quite good enough, which me and Oscar just don't agree with. So it's nice to hear an opposition fan speak about him as well, because he's a good player.
It is interesting what you guys just said about Bamford and how he he probably didn't expect to be where he is now, because the first time I watched Bamford or like really recognised him as a footballer was when he scored a consolation for Middlesbrough, and like they'd already been relegated against Saints. I think it was 2-0. He scored to make it 2-1, and he was so happy. He just looked at the sky like that was going to be his peak, like Premier League goal. You know, already relegated. And he just, if you find it on YouTube, he just looks to the sky, just as if like, what the hell's happened here? As if it was going to be his peak. So he's obviously done a bit better than his own expectation.
Hat-trick against Villa, man. It was and like that Mike was speaking, some of them goals, it was like, where's he picked that out of? Like, it's madness.
Yeah, that was for a neutral watching that was something else, and it's quite a romantic story.
The one against Leicester the other week away. That
was beauty, wasn't it? Yeah, that's what I mean. We're not expecting him to finish from there. Not with where it ended up as well. Top bins. It was like, oh my god, like we do our watch-alongs, and Oscar's like, what a goal! All the time, but it was a similar finish against Wolves, to be fair.
It was the same kind of goal. Top corner, top postage stamp. Unreal.
Unfortunately, offside.
Well,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We'll just go to this one off our main man, Russ Vernon, absolute legend. Quick question for Dan and Mike. Where do you think Leeds can hurt Southampton? Where's the areas of the pitch where you're thinking, ooh, I'm not looking forward to this against Leeds? I mean, anything that stands out particularly?
The right-hand side. I mean, we've got no fit right back, especially if we're playing our usual 4-2-2. We've got no genuinely recognised right back. So I think, look at the right-hand sides. But then I would say in the middle of the park, pretty solid. You know, Romeu's quite reliable. Ward-Prowse, I don't know what Mike thinks, but on the ball, I think he's been a little bit below par of the last couple of games. But you know, on his day, he's one of the better box-to-box midfielders in the league. Up front, again, we've missed chances at times, but I'd be saying right-hand side with no right back.
Yeah, agreed. And, it sort of lends itself to, perhaps us doing the same system that we played up against Chelsea. But, you're still going to have, if we do that, we're still going to have Musa Nepo there. And, he's got out of the game of his life again to actually make up the difference that we're missing. And also in the middle of the park, it's a fair point on Ward-Prowse. He's sort of, a bit been a bit sort of vacant off the ball. Romeo's had some decent football. He's another player, actually. I think he's had an unbelievable season. You know, he's always going to get a yellow card. We have a bit of a thing on our show, like just guess the minute where he's going to get a yellow card. But I think he's got like 50 yellow cards. But
he just doesn't get sent off though. I don't know how he does it.
Such a magic man. But he's a player. You know, when Højbjerg went to Spurs, you know, Romeo was like second fiddle, and it was like, to see Romeo then come back into the mix when the transfer thing was going on, and we were actually seeing a better player than we were in Højbjerg, and it was just like, oh, okay, maybe getting a poor fee for Højbjerg from Daniel Levy doesn't hurt so much when you see Romeo putting in the shift he does. But I think he's playing the best football he's ever played for us at the moment. Looking so much more composed on the ball. And just his dispersion of the ball as well, you know, setting up players, and you know, he doesn't look the panicked central defensive midfielder he perhaps once was, in terms of he get the ball and he's just got to get rid of it as quickly as he can. He actually looks like he's, you know, composed, calm, and just sort of setting things up. So yeah, no, he's done very well there. But Ward-Prowse, I mean, again, he'll be a danger man for you. You know, I think for us, it's better if we get a free kick just outside the box as opposed to a penalty. You know, it's kind of mad that you say that, you know, the consistency that he's able to score his free kicks, but yeah, no, interesting one.
Guys, keep smashing the likes as well. Let's try and get this to 200 before we bow out anyway. But I mean, it is going to be really. I just think the first goal is so crucial in this game as well, because if we do score first, or Southampton score first, I think the other team has then got to just go absolutely full pelt and then get hit on the counter. I just have that feeling. You know, both teams play such high risk football that. I don't know, do you three feel like that? I mean, Joe, do you feel like that? If it's another game where not so much Wolves in the sense that if we concede first, it'll finish 1-0, but in the sense that it could really open up against us, a little bit like, say, the Palace game earlier on in the season or the Leicester game in that kind of sense. Do you feel that as well?
I can't see the game getting away from either side, if I'm being honest. I do think it'll be high scoring, and I think both teams will score. But I don't see it getting away from us if they were to go in front, say, like Leicester did that time. I don't know. I think there's going to be goals in this game for both sides. I think it's going to be a fantastic game for the neutral. You know, it might be tough for us to watch at times, but, you know, I enjoy watching my football club now, you know, and I guess Mike and Dan will be the same, you know, even though, you know, we got hammered 6-2 by our fiercest rivals. It was horrible, you know, it was horrible. You know, you were beaten, you know, by, you know, a high scoreline. I don't want to say it, boys, but you know what I mean? But exactly. You accept it. You sort of accept it because you understand the type of play. You're enjoying what you see. I would much rather do that. You know, I remember at the time when we were taking these spankings and people are saying, nah, he needs to change his system, change his whole philosophy. Big Sam had just come in at West Brom and got a result against Liverpool, and everyone were going, see, this is what gets it, yeah. And now look where West Brom are, you know, and look where Leeds United are. So I just think two fingers up to that. And that's why I just enjoy watching my team play. And I'm really excited for this game, to be honest, because it's the only side yet we've not come up against in the Premier League, obviously due to it being rescheduled. So I'm excited for it. And I think it's going to be a bit of a goal fest. And hopefully Leeds will be on the positive end of it. I'm going to go 3-2, I think, Oscar, Leeds United.
Okay.
Yeah.
What I will say is we're an absolute charity case about giving Leeds away. You know, took the lead against Chelsea. Okay, it was a good result in the end, but I think Wolves emphasises it. I mean, taking the lead and it was a harsh penalty that they scored, but it completely crumbled in terms of our confidence, our spine, our mentality. And we went on to lose the game after an excellent first half, one of the best maybe all season. So I do feel like even if we take the lead, there's a good opportunity for Leeds to take points.
Yeah, we dropped the most points from winning positions. Anyone in the league, I think.
Okay.
It was.
Is it hard? Are we top now? I thought
we're firmly top. It was like I think we were 16 points from winning positions.
That was like pride, then, Mike. We said we're top.
We're top. Yeah,
top of the league.
Top of the league. points drop Southampton
It
Football Club.
It is, yeah, no, it's quite something. But both teams play really risky football, and I think that's something it's a joy to watch. But the Hasenhüttl style of football is risky, and Hasenhüttl has also said on time and time occasion that the players take more risks than he would hope. So, and I saw a few bits of the game that you guys played against Wolves on Friday night, and I could see you doing very risky football at the back. Playing passes very close to opposing players, and so I could see, like you say, it's a fair point, Joe, in the sense that I don't think either side are going to get away from it. But we didn't concede from open play yesterday, but arguably Chelsea lacks the quality in the final third, despite the hundreds of millions that they've got available to them. Yeah. So I think if you've got, if you were able to capitalize and you've got that quality in the final third, then anything's possible. But, we've been pretty good defensively. And it sounds funny to say that after the result a few weeks back, but yeah, we've been pretty good defensively. I'll say it again.
We have been. I completely back that. 3 consecutive clean sheets in the FA Cup against Arsenal and Wolves are 2 of them. So I think at times, we're either on it or we're just not at all.
Right.
So my 3 goals then are way wide of the mark, do you think, lads? Is that not happening?
I'd like a 3-2 Saints. I'd love that. Yeah. I'd take that every day of the week. I'd take any result that comes in 3 points. But I don't know. I think Ralph will go for this back 5 again, and I think that might hinder the effect of shipping goals. I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet. I do think both teams will score. But yeah, I don't think it'd be 3-2. I think we might see a 2-1 if either side are going to win it.
Okay.
Just let me ask as well, just for the Leeds fans that are watching, if you were to lose this game, guys, are you worried about a relegation dogfight at all and being caught by Fulham?
Well, West Brom got a point at Burnley yesterday. Yeah. They're catching up. No, absolutely no chance. I'm still looking at the table. I'm seeing this game as a great opportunity to go into 12th place and then build on possibly trying to get ourselves back in the top half. Because I don't know what Mike thinks, but for me, even if we get to a cup semi-final, even if we get to the cup final, really, I think for this squad and this manager to finish outside of the top half after finishing 11th last season would be quite disappointing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think in terms of, of course, with any fan base, when you go on a long losing streak, people start to worry. They look down the table and think, oh, they've only got to win 3 or 4 more games on the bounce and they'll be right up next to us. That's pretty tough to do. And if you're doing those kind of results, then you're at the top of the table. You're not in those positions. So a couple of freak results from Fulham, but they're playing decent football and get results. So but no, I don't think we need to worry too much. I don't think either side need to worry too much.
That's what I was going to ask you. Like it's they're sound. They do.
It's also about the teams down there, how poor they can be at times. I mean, okay, Newcastle have just beaten us 3-2, but I see them getting sucked in potentially. Brighton is still down there. They haven't necessarily gotten the results that maybe their football might suggest. So I would be saying the current bottom 5 are the ones that need to be concerned. I think Leeds and Southampton, they should be teams looking up the table, not behind them.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I can only echo that. I mean, the thing, there's a lot of traffic between us and those teams. If we were like 16th and 10 points ahead, you could probably make a case for it and say, okay, if we do drop 2 or 3 results, Fulham pick up 2 or 3 results, unlikely, but that could suck us in. But you look at it then, you're kind of thinking, not only would we have to go on a poor run, the other teams in between us and Fulham would have to go on a good run.
This is what I'm saying. 16. It frustrated me because I woke up this morning to Twitter and people saying Fulham beat Sheffield United last night. If we get beat Tuesday, and I had to say, look, Fulham beating Sheffield United does not mean that we are in a relegation dogfight. Nor does it mean us getting beat on Tuesday. And still some fans, no, it's must win. It's must win. And I'm like, no, because there is 6 teams between us and Fulham, or if you include Fulham. They would have to win a big vast majority of their games. Like someone made the point of saying Newcastle have only ever gone 2 games without losing. Do you know what I mean? So they're not going to go on this big run that people anticipate. And nor are we going to go on a mass. Even if we were to lose, that's 3 on the bounce. You're then looking, maybe Villa, we lose that. I was saying the other night, I said, we could not win another game and still stay up. I was saying that.
No, it's about what the ambition is. Okay, it might be must win if Saints want to finish 7th and get European football, but when it comes to a relegation battle, it's not must win for either side.
No,
absolutely not.
100%. I mean, look at Palace. Palace have just got absolutely battered by us. They got beat 3-0 at home to Burnley. You know, they're a team that's going to have to worry. If they get beat back tomorrow night by Brighton, they're miles worse.
Burnley as well. Burnley. I mean,
yeah.
how West Brom didn't win yesterday, even with 10 men, is ridiculous. You know, I'm confident in saying there are 6 teams that need to be worried, and everyone else shouldn't. When it comes to relegation, again, look up the table. It's a waste of time worrying about relegation.
Yeah, but you're always going to get fans doing it. It's
energy.
To make you boys feel better, I think after the Liverpool win, when we hit 29 points, literally the amount of people that text me and said 11 points to safety. It's like, oh, come on, really? Like, you're always going to get that. You know, we're hitting 29 points in January.
Say, I was like, 10 points off, like 18th. Like, even when we've got the game in hand, I mean, the paranoia is just ridiculous at times. Like, it takes the mick.
It does, man. It does.
Well, I'm massively worried if we lose this game. I'm not going to lie. But guys, make sure you check that out as well. LUFC Lewis on this channel later on tonight. You might see 2 people you recognise. Who knows? You might see 2 people you recognise. Well, you will see 2 people you recognise. You'll see me and Joe on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Did we get the million? Did we not? Do you back us? Do you not? Check it out, guys. Make sure you check it out. It is a top class video, that one. I mean, as Gail says, it's a Leeds thing, isn't it? We do always worry. We always worry. I mean, last season...
No, you have to... No,
I'm not. I'm not
having it, Oscar. We have to be rid of that mentality now. It's Leeds United PTSD. And look, I get it, right? You could argue that I'm the total polar opposite, because I was that guy in the Championship, in League One, that I'm looking at the table saying, right, okay, when we're 13th and there's 6 games to go, if that team lose and that team lose and we win, we might get in. So maybe I'm too uber positive, but I'd probably be that fan at Sheffield United that would be still, we can still stay up. We can still do it. Maybe I'm that guy, so maybe I'd be frustrated in that respect, but we need to be rid of that, man. It's a totally different animal now. We have people that care about the club in charge the first time in a very, very, very long time. You know, we've got good owners. We've got an amazing manager who's here for the long haul. He's already been here longer than he's spent at any other football club. And Phil Hayes reported today in The Athletic that people around him, family, friends, are saying he's staying, although we know he won't sign the deal until the end of the season, which is frustrating because you just want it signed, sealed and delivered. But I'm not concerned. And the amazing thing for me, and we were speaking about when we spoke to Wolves fans, and it's the same with Mike and Dan, we're in that already. For me, we are in the same bracket of these football clubs. And these football clubs are flirting with top 10 Europe, you know, have got great squads, great managers. And we're, for me, already in that bracket within the, first season in the Premier League, which is amazing. So the ceiling, it'll just continue, just a bit more investment in the summer, better players, and I think we'll be knocking on the door of Europe, definitely. Relegation is not an option, not even in there. I'm not even bothered with it, man. Not even bothered.
We've never really discussed it. The weird thing is, with you promote a club, I mean, even remember, if you go back to our videos in pre-season, I genuinely don't think, even at the start of the season, before the ball was kicked, we've ever actually not to be arrogant, but I've never genuinely thought it was a possibility. Not to be, anything can happen in the Premier League. Don't get me wrong. I didn't think Sheffield United would be in a relegation battle this season. They're massively in one. They're going to go down. Yeah. But we've never actually discussed it, have we? Even all our pre-season stuff, I don't think we've ever actually discussed it, and that sums it all up for us in terms of where we're at as a club. To be honest.
Definitely.
But guys, I guess we will leave it there anyway. We're absolutely superb. Mike,
we need some score predictions off Mike and Dan. I want to hear some score predictions.
Dan gave us one. Dan did give us a 2-1 either way, which is
right. Yeah, I'll go 2-1 either way still. I'll stick with that. I don't know. There might be a draw in there.
The 2-1 lead from Dan.
I've just seen the Premier League table and I've just realised that you guys have drawn twice all season. So my thought maybe a 1-1 is kind of out the window. So I'll go 2-1 Saints. I'll go confident, definitely.
Yeah, we don't draw many, to be fair.
Mike, what are you going, mate?
And for me, we don't really draw many either. It's either all or nothing for us. So do you know what? I'm going to go, if we end up playing that kind of 3 centre-back role, 5 at the back kind of thing, 2-0. 2-0 Saints.
Yes, definitely. Why not? Why not?
Still going 3-2. That's going to be a barn.
I'm going to go 2-1 Leeds. I'm going to go 2-1 Leeds, but it'll be a good game. I think both teams will miss a lot of chances. I was saying to Dan, the XG on it will be absolutely insane in terms of the game, because it'll just be attacking football, both sides, absolutely crazy. And that's what I can see. But Mike, where can we find you, mate?
Yeah, you can find us over on Matchday Vlogs on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok if you're so inclined. But yeah, no, all the links to socials are you just simply search Matchday Vlogs, you will find us there. The other thing I will say is I, for one, am massively missing the fact that we can't have an away day at Ellen Road. So, you know, hopefully
it's killing me. I'm in Derby. I'm only an hour away. Like, I was just thinking about it, get the train, it'd be fine. But
all of us.
I
mean, that would have been a sold out allocation within seconds. I think the amount of
night game.
Yeah.
Don't.
So next season in the Premier League, both of us. Don't worry.
When we're pushing for Europe, when it's like a top 4 battle at the end of the season between the two teams,
title contention.
It will be.
Yeah.
Dan, where can we find you, mate? Obviously, I've just been on your channel earlier on in the day. Where can we find you, mate?
Yeah, so the Saints View on YouTube, and then your socials, Instagram and Twitter if you want your Saints content. Like I said, Oscar and I had a chat ahead of the game, so that'll be out tomorrow in our preview if you want to go check that out, 6 p.m. So yeah, if you want to be exactly on the dot, then it'll be there. But Saints View.
Do you both do watch-alongs? I know you do, don't you, Mike? Do you, Dan?
We've dabbled with it. It's something that I've found tricky to do myself. So if you want your watch-along, go to Mike's channel.
I was going to say, because I mean, we do our own. I'm not trying to take viewers away from ours.
Yeah.
It's always great because
it's fun. Look, when we've tried to do it, it's been good fun. It's just, you know, some people don't have BT. I don't need to go into it, but yeah, we won't be doing one for Leeds, so go and watch Mike's.
I'll tell you what, you do want to do the United away one. That watch along was.
That's what I mean. I turned off at half time. I'm not going to lie. So in my head, it's still 4-0.
I was tempted, so tempted to pull that stream. I thought, no, we've got a lot of subscribers watching. I can't do this.
I was going to say, I bet it did numbers, didn't it, Mike? To be fair.
Oh yeah. I think I had 11,000 views pretty quick on that one. So yeah, it's kind of like an Arsenal fan TV thing, isn't it?
They want
results.
People want a reaction. People want a reaction with social media than football. That's the thing, and that's maybe arguably why I've not folded and committed to it yet. But I mean, it's one of those where either you do it and you can have a good laugh watching along, or you kind of sit there and you're more inclined to just watch the game. I don't know. I like watching watch-alongs for the reactions.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I say it, so that our fans know that there's on, so that when we take the lead, they can just quickly jump over, in meltdown mode, and then come back to us. You see, it's all fun, man. It's all fun. Great. Thank you both for coming on. Though, and make sure you check them both out, guys.
But guys, just before we finish, anyway, tomorrow we've got the big match preview. Tuesday night, it's a 6 o'clock kickoff on Tuesday, so we're up nice and early on the game on Tuesday. So 5 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
It is 6 o'clock. It is a 6 o'clock, mate. It's good job I said that, wasn't it? You know.
Otherwise I'd been late.
5 o'clock, starting with the lineups, hour before the game.
Yeah.
5:45-ish, we'll be starting with the watch along, and then probably about 8:30, we'll be doing the live post match. Smash the like on this video, get subscribed, because plenty more content to come out for between now and just forever. So we'll leave it there anyway, guys, and we're just going to give you the famous Leeds TV jingle to bow out anyway, guys. See you later.
Cheers.